Hello everybody, I'm Dirty Bob, and on this YouTube channel we love to speculate about a bunch of different things in old school RuneScape. This video was inspired by another video I saw by Only Trails referencing if we need stackable clues. It inspired me to make a couple of points in that direction, so get your torches and pitchforks ready because in this video I'm going to be giving you my opinion on what the problem with clue scrolls are. So we might as well start from the beginning. What exactly is a clue scroll and what's it supposed to do? Distractions and diversions. This is the basis of a clue scroll and how it should take up your time. And from the very start, I have a problem with that. Don't tell me how I can spend my time playing your game that I already pay money to play. Especially when the reasons for doing so are kind of arbitrary. I don't really like being interrupted. I can only imagine how frustrating clue scrolls are for people who don't like being interrupted for medical reasons like OCD. And in the same vein of accessibility, I'm not just talking about quality of life for everybody, but if we were going to really talk about accessibility, a couple of the puzzles would be really hard for visually impaired people, which could be colorblind. So like the light puzzles, or maybe even a couple of the puzzle boxes, should rightfully have a skip mechanic or just readily be taken away. And yes, I'm biased on this specific point. I would do anything to get rid of the puzzle boxes. And I do want to say no, this mentality doesn't necessarily undermine the mechanic of time-gated clues. It shows the inaccessibility for specific playstyles, which the rest of the game really does not do. There are well over 30 different builds for PvM, PvP, minigames, and so many more ways that players come up with to interact with content. But unfortunately, Clue Scrolls doesn't give you that freedom. Which is why I'm saying, why can't Clue Scrolls be an active thing to look forward to doing? If you enjoy skilling, minigames, PvM, or PvP, none of these activities have a time-gated aspect in regards to being unable to do what you'd like to do because of an arbitrary time or clue limit. Stackable clues would essentially alleviate almost all of these problems. And I do understand that this topic that I'm talking about came from another video. If I haven't told you to reference it at the beginning, I've got to tell you to reference it now, because they brought up a couple of problems with stackable clues. And in my opinion, any of the downsides for stackable clues are negligible at best. Some of the downsides brought up were clue integrity, clue burnout, and the negative effect on the economy. So to first reference something like clue integrity, it seems kind of odd. It's hard to argue that the distraction aspect upholds clue integrity because clues are meant to be solved. It'd be a really pale argument to say that people don't just use the plugin or haven't solved a clue in the last 5 or 6 years. So the integrity of clue scrolls is already out the window, but maybe the integrity aspect could still be there for some people. But in the same vein, somebody who killed 10,000 Ankus and completed like all 100 clues that they got out of that would have done the exact same amount of work as somebody who killed 10,000 Ankus and wants to complete the 100 clues after they were done slaying them. Just because of someone's preferences, they're penalized monetarily. And if somebody even ends up skipping a clue or two for something like an Anku task, it immediately makes the task unworthy of even doing, which adds a whole new layer of kind of forcing people to do them then and there. The second point in the video that I am referencing mentioned clue fatigue as a subject as well, and I just don't believe that's a thing. In leagues, sure, you'll have 400 or 500 clues in the bank, and you only have about 2 months max to play leagues. So yes, those get pushed to the side because there's so many other things to do than clue scrolls, and we know for a fact you don't want to be stuck doing clue scrolls all league. But in the main game, there's essentially an unlimited amount of time for you to be able to get to whatever you'd like to get to. If you had 20,000 iron in the bank, you wouldn't say you had smithing fatigue. You would just likely say you had iron to get to one day when you want to do it. That's really just what it boils down to. Focusing on the tasks you'd like to focus on and not being told how to play the game, but playing it in the way that you'd like to play it. The final downside in the video I'm referencing, if I haven't told you enough to go watch it, please do. But Stackable Clues would likely make clues more accessible to the general public, so that might decline the Clue Scroll rewards market. And for that, I kind of have to say, the market will more or less balance itself out, and Jagex has a lot of tools to help it do that. But, things like the Goblin Mask aren't worth anything because no one wants it. Demand for most Clue Scroll reward items would only go up if they were specifically chosen to be featured in an update. So even if Stackable Clue Scrolls bring in more rewards to the economy, almost every Clue Scroll reward, excluding mega rares and a couple of outliers, are unwanted enough for the price to likely remain unchanged, if not a tiny alteration to the price. And when it comes to mega rares, it would still be mega rare. A few more items might trickle into the economy, but it's not like we're opening the floodgates. And even that's not a guarantee that the items are gonna come trickling in. This just assumes that more people will want to do Clue Scrolls, but there is a demographic of people that don't really want to do Clue Scrolls at all. And they might never get to it. So providing an update for the people who do the Clue Scrolls would really only reward them in the long run. And then this brings me to a couple of things that I actually have a problem with in the reward space for Clue Scrolls. Certain cosmetics should just outright be included in the game. Mole slippers should be available from a taxidermist. A Hunter Master could reward you with a shoulder parrot. The Sandwich Lady random event should probably give you the Sandwich Lady outfit. And I'm not saying these items shouldn't be on Clue Scrolls, but it's a huge mistake to make them exclusive to Clue Scrolls. And literally, that was just beginner clues. The problem gets so much worse in the higher tiers. Running straight into Ranger Boots are essentially necessary for an account. The Rangers are sought after for medium clues, not just for the money. It's kind of an essential grind for several hundred hours of clues. And the worst part is, most of the time is spent not doing Clue Scrolls. Having necessary gear upgrades that are not tied to any lore, boss, minigame, or area, in my opinion, is a huge problem from a game dev standpoint. It's essentially saying, why is this important? 'Cause I said so. Go get it. And moving into some community discussions that were referenced in the video. And yet another problem with the reward space is there's no room for Grandmaster Clues. And what I mean by that is that now devalues some of the hardest things in the game. Specifically because should you do one of the hardest things in the game off task or without a clue, it is now much less worth it for you to have performed that task until you would have gotten a clue, making killing an awakened Leviathan now have a sour taste in your mouth because you did it off task. But really, what would you even get for a Grandmaster reward? I guess money would work, but more cosmetics for doing some of the hardest content in the game? It's kind of lame. Okay, well, how about necessary best-in-slot upgrades? Now locked behind a random number generator instead of quest, lore, or bosses? You might as well just sell loot boxes at that point. And one more problem that I happen to have is Wilderness Clue Scrolls. And this was slightly touched on in the video, but not in the direction I'm going. Wilderness Clues are a problem because of the several different game modes on offer. Running into the wilderness for a clue that yields less than 20, even 100k isn't even worth risking your time as an Iron Man, because Iron Man don't risk money, they risk their time. And unfortunately, everyone can agree that no one has enough time. So it has to be very worth it for an Iron Man to run in there. But not only that, the wilderness essentially works like a different game or game mode, but very similar. And anyone who doesn't frequent the wilderness wouldn't necessarily have that knowledge or wouldn't have the muscle memory for the way that the game works in the wilderness, even if they were currently thinking of the mechanics while trying to escape. Forcing those who don't or won't PvP into PvP doesn't increase the overall PvP experience. Even those who frequent the wilderness have argued for wilderness-specific clues, or at least buffs to the loot table of clues found in the wilderness. Maybe for every wilderness clue step that you have, that's like one more roll on the table of whatever clue you're doing. Hard, elite, master. I'm not necessarily campaigning to take anything away. I just want to make sure that everything is more accessible for everybody, and maybe opening up the reward space to make things a little bit more worth it. What do you guys think about clue scrolls? What's your biggest complaint, and what do you think they do the best? Please leave that down in the comments, and if you got your torches and pitchforks ready, just go ahead and leave those in the comments too. But until next time, everybody, I will see you all later. And I do just want to say, no, this isn't a response to the video. It's just my take on the topic. I don't necessarily expect any of those much larger RuneScapers to care about my opinion on their discussion. I just wanted to give my 2 cents because it's been rattling around my head for a few days now. So I guess we'll just get started. Did any of you guys see Dirty Bobby anywhere? Nope. Oh well. So, Stackable Clues, what do you think?
Let me in, you assholes. I'm the mascot.